Daeho wiped the grease from his hands as he walked down the corridor of Neo-Seoul Space Station. His shift had been 12 hours long, fixing a broken cooling system in Section 7. His back hurt and his feet ached. All he wanted was to eat something hot and sleep for 10 hours straight. The station was huge, home to 20,000 people from Earth and dozens of alien species. Daeho had lived here for 2 years now, working as an engineer. The pay was good, and the work kept him busy. He had a small apartment that he shared with an alien roommate named Lixra. Lixra was Velixian. They looked humanoid, but their skin had patterns that glowed in the dark. Blues and purples that shifted like waves on water. They were quiet, almost shy. Daeho hardly saw them because they worked night shifts at the station's hydroponics bay. In 3 months of living together, they had maybe talked 10 times. Just quick hellos and goodbyes. As Daeho reached his door, the station's alarm system beeped. Not the emergency alarm, but the warning tone. He pressed his hand to the door scanner and stepped inside. "Attention all station residents," a calm voice said through the speakers. "A Class 3 solar radiation storm has been detected. It will reach the station in approximately 2 hours. All personnel must return to assigned quarters immediately. A complete lockdown will begin at 1900 hours. Duration: minimum 14 days. I repeat, all personnel must return to quarters now." Daeho froze. 14 days. Locked in this small apartment. With a roommate he barely knew. He looked around the space. It was not big. There was a main living area with a small kitchen on one side. 2 sleeping pods built into the walls, one on each side. A bathroom barely large enough for 1 person. A table with 2 chairs. That was it. The door opened and Lixra rushed in. They moved fast, their glowing patterns flickering bright orange. That meant stress, Daeho had learned. "Did you hear?" Lixra asked. Their voice was soft, musical. They spoke perfect Korean, though with an odd accent. "Yeah," Daeho said. 2 weeks stuck inside. Lixra's patterns shifted from orange to a dark purple. They stood very still, their large eyes staring at nothing. "Are you okay?" Daeho asked. "Yes, fine, just surprised." Lixra moved to their sleeping pod and started organizing things inside. Their movements were jerky, nervous. Daeho shrugged and went to the kitchen. He heated up some rice and kimchi from yesterday. The news screens on the wall showed images of the solar storm. It was massive, a wall of charged particles that would fry anyone caught outside the station's shielded areas. Deadly stuff. "Want some food?" he called to Lixra. "No, thank you. I ate already." They ate in silence. Or rather, Daeho ate while Lixra organized their belongings. The Velixian kept checking their communication pad, reading something over and over. At exactly 7 p.m., the lockdown began. Red lights blinked above the door, and it sealed with a heavy clunk. The sound was final. No one could leave until the station's central computer deemed it safe. "Well," Daeho said, trying to sound positive, "at least we have food and water." "Yes," Lixra said quietly. The first night was awkward. They moved around each other carefully, like strangers on a crowded train. Daeho watched some shows on his screen. Lixra read something in their own language, the symbols floating above their pad in holographic light. The second day was better. They talked a bit more. Daeho learned that Lixra had 3 siblings back on the Velixian homeworld. They missed the purple skies and the singing trees. Lixra learned that Daeho grew up in Busan and loved old movies from the 21st century. "Why did you come to space?" Lixra asked. "Money, mostly," Daeho admitted. "And I wanted to see new things. Earth felt small after a while. I understand that feeling," Lixra said with what might have been a smile. It was hard to tell, with Velixian faces. By the 3rd day, they had settled into a routine. Daeho would wake up first, make coffee, and do some exercises. Lixra would wake up later and meditate in front of their pod, sitting very still for an hour. They would eat together, talk about small things, then go their separate ways in the tiny apartment. But on the 3rd night, Daeho noticed something wrong. Lixra had not come out of their sleeping pod for dinner. The pod's privacy screen was up, which was unusual. Daeho could see a faint glow through the screen, brighter than normal. Lixra, you okay in there? No answer. Lixra, I am fine. The voice was strained. Please. I just need rest. Daeho frowned. Something was off. He went to bed worried but decided not to push. Maybe Velixians needed alone time. He did not know enough about their culture. The fourth day, Lixra did not come out at all. Daeho stood outside the sleeping pod, uncertain. Hey, you need to eat something. I made soup. Not hungry. You have not eaten in 2 days. Silence. Lixra, if you are sick, I can call medical. They can send. No. The word came out sharp, almost panicked. No medical. I am not sick. I just need time. The glow behind the screen was pulsing now. Bright, then dim, then bright again. And the temperature in the apartment had gone up. Daeho checked the climate controls. They were normal. The heat was coming from Lixra's pod. You are burning up in there, Daeho said. The temperature is way too high. More silence. Then, very quietly. I know. Then let me help. You cannot help with this. Daeho sat down on the floor outside the pod. Look, we are stuck here for 10 more days. If something is wrong, we need to deal with it. I am an engineer. I fix problems. Talk to me. A long pause. The glow pulsed faster. It is embarrassing, Lixra finally said. I do not embarrass easy. This is different. Try me. Another pause. Then the privacy screen lowered halfway. Lixra sat inside, curled up tight. Their skin patterns were going wild. Flashing colors Daeho had never seen. Reds and golds and deep crimsons. Their face looked pained. I am entering my cycle, Lixra said quietly. Daeho blinked. Your cycle? The reproductive cycle. Heat, you would call it in Earth terms. Lixra looked away. It happens every 3 years. It lasts 10 to 12 days. Velixians normally go to special facilities with environmental controls. Climate management. Isolation. Medical support. Understanding hit Daeho like cold water. And you are stuck here instead. Yes. That is. Okay. We can handle this. Lixra's eyes widened. You do not understand. The symptoms get worse. Much worse. Fever. Disorientation. Pheromone release. I will be in pain. The smell might affect you. I might say things that do not make sense. It is humiliating. Daeho stood up. His mind was already working, already planning. First things first. What do you need? Temperature? Humidity? Light levels? Lixra stared at him. You want to help? Of course. You are my roommate. Most species would be disgusted, or afraid, or they would try to take advantage. I am not most species, Daeho said simply. I am human. Now tell me what you need so I can start fixing things. For the first time in days, Lixra's patterns shifted to a soft, warm blue. Relief. Cooler temperature, they said. Higher humidity. Low light. And privacy. Daeho nodded, his engineer's brain already running calculations. I can do that. Give me a few hours. He moved to the storage closet and started pulling out tools. He had work to do. Daeho sat at the table with his communication pad, reading everything he could find about Velixian biology. The station's database had information on over 300 alien species. He searched for Velixian reproductive cycles and found medical documents, cultural studies, and environmental requirement charts. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. He did not care. The facts were clear. During their cycle, Velixians needed specific conditions to stay healthy. Their body temperature would rise dangerously high without proper cooling. They would become dehydrated quickly. The pheromones they released could affect other species, causing anything from headaches to confusion. Most importantly, they needed isolation. The psychological stress of being observed during this vulnerable time could cause permanent trauma. Daeho looked at his small apartment. He had to turn this place into a medical facility with nothing but spare parts and basic tools. Challenge accepted. He started with the temperature. The sleeping pod had its own climate controls, but they were not strong enough for what Lixra needed. He would have to redirect coolant from the main system. He opened the wall panel near Lixra's pod. Inside was a mess of pipes and wires. He traced the coolant line with his fingers, following it up into the ceiling. If he could tap into the secondary line and reroute it through a heat exchanger, he could drop the temperature in Lixra's pod by 10 degrees, maybe 15 if he pushed it. "What are you doing?" Lixra asked from behind the privacy screen. "Fixing the cooling," Daeho said. "Stay in there. This might get loud." He worked for 3 hours straight. His hands got cut from sharp metal edges. His shoulders ached from reaching into tight spaces, but eventually, cool air started flowing into Lixra's pod at twice the normal rate. "Better?" he called out. "Yes," Lixra's voice sounded relieved. "Much better. Thank you." Next was humidity. Velixians came from a world with heavy moisture in the air. The station's air was dry, recycled through filters 1,000 times. Daeho needed to add water vapor without flooding the apartment. He rigged up a system using the shower. He ran a thin tube from the bathroom to Lixra's pod, with a small pump he took from the kitchen water dispenser. The pump would pull hot water from the shower and spray it as a fine mist inside the pod. Not perfect, but it would work. He tested it. Mist filled the pod like a gentle rain. "How is that?" Daeho asked. "Good," Lixra said. Their voice sounded tired. "Very good." The light was easy. He just dimmed the apartment's main lights and set Lixra's pod to minimal glow. Soft darkness, like twilight. Privacy was harder. The sleeping pods were open to the main room. Anyone could see inside when the screen was down. Daeho needed to build a barrier, something that would give Lixra complete isolation. He looked around the apartment. There was not much to work with. Storage boxes, spare sheets, the emergency supply crates under the table. He spent 2 hours building a wall from storage crates. He stacked them carefully, creating a barrier around Lixra's pod. Then he hung sheets over them, making a private room within the room. It looked ridiculous, but it worked. Lixra was now completely hidden from view. "I made you a fort," Daeho said with a tired smile. A soft laugh came from inside. "A fort? That is sweet. Can you see me?" "No." "Good." Now came the tricky part. The pheromones. According to the database, Velixian pheromones during heat could affect most carbon-based life forms. Humans were particularly sensitive. Symptoms included dizziness, headaches, confusion, and in extreme cases, respiratory issues. Daeho needed a filter. He took apart the apartment's air scrubber. Inside was a chemical filtration system designed to remove toxins from recycled air. He reconfigured it, adding extra layers of carbon mesh. Then he built a small mask he could wear when the pheromone levels got high. It looked like something from an old plague doctor's outfit. He felt stupid wearing it, but safety first. "I look like an idiot," he said, looking at himself in the bathroom mirror. "I cannot see you, remember?" Lixra called back. "Right. Good." By the end of the first day of work, Daeho had transformed half the apartment into a makeshift medical suite. Cool air, high humidity, low light, complete privacy, and air filtration. He felt proud of himself. But the real work was just beginning. The next morning, Daeho woke to the sound of Lixra crying out. He jumped from his pod and ran to the barrier. "Lixra, what is wrong?" "Hot," they gasped. "So hot. The cooling is not enough anymore." Daeho checked his monitoring system. He had set up sensors to track the temperature inside Lixra's pod. The reading made his blood run cold. 42 degrees Celsius. That was dangerous, even for a Velixian. "Hold on," he said. "I will fix it." He ran to the wall panel and increased the coolant flow. The system groaned in protest. He was pushing it past safe limits, but he had no choice. The temperature dropped. Slowly, degree by degree. Better? He asked. Yes, Lixra breathed. Better. Better. This became the pattern. Every few hours, something would go wrong. The humidity system would clog. The cooling would fail. Lixra would need water or nutrients. Deho barely slept. He monitored the systems constantly, fixing problems as they appeared. He researched Velixian nutritional needs and made special drinks from the food synthesizer. Mineral supplements, electrolyte solutions, protein shakes, tailored to alien biology. He would leave them at the entrance to Lixra's private area, then step away. Privacy was important. He never looked inside. On the third day, Lixra spoke to him through the barrier. Why are you doing this? Deho was calibrating the humidity sensor. Doing what? Helping me. You could have called medical. You could have demanded a transfer. Most people would be disgusted. Deho thought about it. You are in pain. I can help. It is that simple. It is not simple for most species. Maybe not, Deho said. But my grandmother always said that we are all just people trying to get through the day. Does not matter if you have 2 legs or 4, or if your skin glows in the dark. Pain is pain. Kindness is kindness. Silence from the barrier. Then, your grandmother was wise. Sing, she was. She also made the best kimchi in Busan. End quote. A soft laugh. I wish I could try it. Maybe when this is over, I will make you some. I would like that. The days blurred together. Deho lived by his monitor screens, watching numbers and graphs. Temperature, humidity, air quality. He became an expert in Velixian biology through pure necessity. He learned that their skin patterns were not just decoration. They were a secondary respiratory system, absorbing oxygen directly through specialized cells. When the patterns pulsed fast, it meant distress. When they glowed steady and blue, it meant comfort. He learned that Velixians were deeply private about physical vulnerability. In their culture, showing weakness was shameful. The fact that Lixra trusted him enough to go through this cycle in his presence was a huge honor. He learned that most alien species saw Velixians in heat as either disgusting or as opportunities for exploitation. There were horrible stories in the database, things that made Deho's stomach turn. No wonder Lixra had been terrified. On the 6th day, things got worse. Deho woke to find all his systems failing. The cooling was down. The humidity pump had burned out. The air filtration was clogged, and Lixra was silent. Lixra, he called. Talk to me. No answer. Lixra, a weak voice. Here, just, tired. Deho's heart pounded. He pulled up the sensor data. Lixra's temperature was 44 degrees and climbing. That was into critical range. He worked frantically, replacing parts, rerouting systems. His hands shook as he spliced wires and sealed coolant leaks. Stay with me, he said. Just stay awake. Talk to me about anything. My home, Lixra whispered. Purple skies. The trees sing in the wind. Sounds like music. Lick. Lixra. Lixra. Lick. Lick music. That sounds beautiful. What else? 3 moons. They dance across the sky. We have festivals when they align. Tell me about the festivals. Lixra talked in a weak, dreamy voice, while Deho worked. He got the cooling system back online. The temperature started to drop. You did it, Lixra said. Just doing my job, Deho said, though his hands were still shaking. No, Lixra said softly. This is more than a job. You are a good person, Deho. A very good person. Deho sat back against the wall, exhausted. Get some rest. I will watch the systems. You need rest too. I will rest when you are safe. He heard Lixra settle into their pod. The glow behind the barrier shifted to calm blue. Deho watched his monitors through tired eyes. 4 more days to go. He could make it. He had to make it, because that was what humans did. They helped. They cared. They stayed awake when others needed to sleep. His grandmother would be proud. Day 7 started badly. Dae-ho had fallen asleep at the table, his head resting on his arms next to the monitor screens. He woke to an alarm screaming in his ears. Critical temperature alert. His eyes snapped open. The numbers on the screen made his blood freeze. 46 degrees Celsius. And still rising. "Lixra," he shouted, running to the barrier. No response. He checked the cooling system. Everything was running at maximum. The coolant flow was as high as it could go without breaking the pipes. But it was not enough. Something had changed. Lixra's body temperature was spiking beyond what the makeshift system could handle. "Lixra, answer me." A weak groan came from behind the barrier. Dae-ho's mind raced. This was not normal. Even for a heat cycle, this was too extreme. He pulled up the medical files on his pad and searched frantically. Then he found it. A small note buried in the technical data. Velixians in reproductive cycle experience rapid mineral depletion, particularly calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Without proper supplementation, body temperature regulation fails. Critical supplementation required by day 7 to 9. Dae-ho felt like he had been punched in the gut. Minerals. Lixra needed specific minerals that their body was burning through. Without them, their biology was breaking down. He ran to the food synthesizer and checked the available supplements. There were human vitamins, some basic alien formulas for common species, but nothing for Velixians. The station did not stock them. Velixians were rare this far from their home systems. His hands trembled as he opened a communication channel to the medical bay. "This is Kim Dae-ho in apartment 7-42. I need emergency Velixian mineral supplements. My roommate is in critical condition." The response came back in a clinical, automated voice. "Medical supplies cannot be delivered during radiation lockdown. All personnel must remain in quarters. Please monitor patient and report any changes." "You do not understand," Dae-ho said, trying to keep his voice steady. "They will die without these supplements. Station medical officer will assess the situation remotely. Please stand by." 5 minutes later, a human doctor appeared on his screen. She looked tired, probably dealing with dozens of emergencies across the station. "Mr. Kim, I have reviewed your situation. I understand your concern, but we cannot break lockdown protocol. The radiation levels outside are lethal. Anyone in the corridors would be dead in minutes." "So what do I do?" Dae-ho demanded. "Just watch my roommate die?" "I am very sorry. The best we can do is provide remote guidance. Keep them cool, hydrated, and comfortable. The cycle will end in a few days, and..." "They do not have a few days," Dae-ho interrupted. "They need those minerals now." The doctor's face softened with sympathy. "I truly am sorry. My hands are tied. If you attempt to leave your quarters, security will stop you. And even if you made it to the corridors, the radiation would kill you." The screen went dark. Dae-ho stood there, fists clenched. He looked at his monitors, temperature still climbing, 46.5 now. He went to the barrier. "Lixra, can you hear me? Dae-ho?" The voice was barely a whisper. "Feel wrong. Everything hurts. I know. I am going to fix it." "How?" "Good question." Dae-ho pulled up a map of the station on his pad. The chemistry lab was in section 4, 4 sections away from his apartment. The lab had a molecular synthesizer capable of creating any compound if given the right formula. He could make the minerals there, but getting there meant crossing radiation-exposed corridors. Meant breaking lockdown. Meant possibly dying. He looked at the emergency suit locker near the door. Inside was a radiation suit, the kind maintenance workers wore for brief repairs outside the station's shielded areas. It was rated for 15 minutes of exposure. Maybe 20 if he was lucky. The trip to Section 4 and back would take at least 30 minutes. Probably longer. Dae-ho did the math. The suit would fail. He would take radiation damage. Maybe a lot. Maybe fatal levels. He looked at his monitors again. Lixra's temperature was 47 degrees now. The decision made itself. He went to the locker and pulled out the radiation suit. It was bulky, with a thick helmet and reinforced gloves. He started putting it on, his hands working automatically while his brain screamed that this was insane. "Daeho?" Lixra called weakly. "What are you doing?" "Going for a walk," he said, sealing the suit's chest plate. "The radiation. I know. You will die." "Maybe. Probably not, though. I'm pretty stubborn." "Please," Lixra's voice broke. "Please do not do this. I am not worth." "Yes, you are," Daeho said firmly. He locked his helmet into place. "You are my friend. Friends do not let friends die when they can help. We barely know each other. Then I am making a new friend. Be right back." He went to the door and overrode the lock. Alarms immediately started blaring. Red lights flashed. A computer voice announced that he was violating lockdown protocol and security had been notified. Daeho did not care. He stepped into the corridor and the door sealed behind him with a heavy thunk. The corridor was empty, lit only by emergency lights. The air felt wrong, charged with invisible death. His suit's radiation detector started clicking immediately. A slow, steady rhythm that would speed up as exposure increased. He started running. The route to Section 4 took him through a maintenance passage, across a cargo bay, and down 2 levels via emergency stairs. Normally, it was a 10-minute walk. In the bulky radiation suit, running full speed, he hoped to do it in 15. The clicking got faster. He reached the first security door. It was locked down. Red lights blinking. He pulled out his engineering override key. A device he was not supposed to have, but had built himself years ago. It could open any non-critical door on the station. The door opened. He ran through. His legs burned. The suit was heavy. 50 kilograms of lead lining and shielding. His breath came hard and fast inside the helmet. The clicking was constant now. A rapid-fire sound that meant radiation was pouring through the suit's protection. Second security door. Override. Run. Third door. Override. Run. The cargo bay was huge and dark. His suit lights cut through the blackness. He ran past stacked containers and silent loading robots. His muscles screamed for him to stop. His lungs felt like they were on fire. The clicking was merging into a continuous tone now. He hit the stairs and half ran, half fell down 2 levels. His knee hit a metal step, and pain shot through his leg. He kept moving. Section 4. The chemistry lab was at the end of a long corridor. His vision started to blur. Radiation sickness beginning already. He pushed harder. The lab door opened to his override. Inside was clean and white, full of equipment and machines. He stumbled to the molecular synthesizer and pulled up the formula on his pad. Calcium carbonate, magnesium sulfate, potassium chloride, mixed in specific ratios for Velixian biology. His hands shook as he entered the formula. The synthesizer hummed to life, building molecules atom by atom. Come on, come on. The radiation alarm in his suit was screaming now. He could taste metal in his mouth. Blood. Probably. His nose was bleeding inside the helmet. The synthesizer beeped. Complete. A small vial filled with white powder appeared. Daeho grabbed it and put it in his suit's chest pouch. Now the hard part. Getting back. He turned and ran for the door. His legs barely worked. His vision had dark spots at the edges. He felt like he was moving through water. Stairs. Up. 1 step. Another. Another. His body wanted to quit. Every cell screamed for him to lie down and rest. But Lixra was dying. He reached the cargo bay. The darkness seemed thicker now. Or maybe his vision was failing. Security doors. Override. Run. His override key slipped from his numb fingers. He bent down to pick it up and nearly fell over. He grabbed it and kept moving. Last corridor. His apartment was at the end. 50 meters. 40. 30. He could not feel his legs anymore. He was running on pure will. 20 meters. 10. His door. He hit the override and fell through as it opened. The alarms were still blaring. He did not care. He crawled to the barrier around Lixra's pod, pulling off his helmet with clumsy hands. Lixra, he gasped. God. The minerals. He opened the vial and mixed the powder into a cup of water. His hands shook so badly he spilled half of it. Daeho? Lixra's voice was weak but alert. You came back. Told you, stubborn. He pushed the cup through the barrier without looking. Drink this. All of it. He heard Lixra drinking. Then silence. Daeho slumped against the wall. His vision was going dark. He could feel the radiation damage burning through his body. Daeho? Lixra called. Daeho. Answer me. He tried to speak but could not form words. The last thing he heard before consciousness faded was Lixra calling for medical help. Their voice strong with panic and fear. Then darkness took him. Daeho woke up to white walls and the smell of antiseptic. His whole body hurt. It felt like someone had filled his veins with broken glass and set them on fire. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through every muscle. Do not move. A calm voice said. A human nurse appeared next to his bed, checking monitors. You took a severe radiation dose. Your body needs time to heal. Lixra. Daeho croaked. His throat felt like sandpaper. Your roommate is fine. You got them the minerals in time. They made a full recovery. Relief washed over him, so strong it made him dizzy. How long? He asked. You have been in medical for 3 days. The radiation storm passed yesterday. Lockdown ended this morning. 3 days. He had missed the end of Lixra's cycle. Missed everything. You are very lucky to be alive, the nurse said, not unkindly. The radiation exposure should have killed you. But humans are tough. I will give you that. Your body is fighting back well. Another week, and you should be mostly recovered. Can I see Lixra? They have been here every day, waiting for you to wake up. I will let them know. The nurse left. Daeho stared at the ceiling, processing everything. He had broken lockdown, violated protocols. Probably broke a dozen station laws. There would be consequences, but Lixra was alive. That was what mattered. 10 minutes later, the door opened and Lixra rushed in. They looked completely different from the last time Daeho had seen them. Their skin patterns were calm, steady blue. Their eyes were clear. They looked healthy and strong. They also looked like they had been crying. You idiot, Lixra said, their voice shaking. You stupid. Wonderful. Impossible idiot. Nice to see you too, Daeho said with a weak smile. Lixra sat in the chair next to his bed. They reached out, then stopped, hands hovering uncertainly. Can I? May I touch your hand? Of course. Lixra took his hand gently. Their skin was warm and smooth. I thought you were dead. When you collapsed, when the medical team came and carried you out, I thought I had killed you. Not dead. Just sleeping. This is not funny, Lixra said, but there was a smile fighting to break through the tears. You could have died. You almost did die. Why would you do something so reckless? Daeho thought about it. Because you needed help, because I could help, because that is what friends do. We barely knew each other. I know you now, Daeho said. You talk in your sleep about purple skies and singing trees. You like the sound of rain. You read poetry in the mornings. You are kind and scared and brave all at once. That is enough for me. Lixra's patterns flashed gold. An emotion Daeho had not seen before. That is, thank you. For everything. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, hands still connected. There is going to be trouble, Lixra finally said. Station security wants to speak with you. You broke multiple protocols. Violated lockdown. Stole medical supplies. I did not steal them. I made them. That is somehow worse, according to the law. Daeho sighed. I figured. I will deal with it. I am going to testify on your behalf, Lixra said firmly. I will make them understand it was a medical emergency. You do not have to. Yes, I do. You saved my life, Daeho. You risked everything for me. I will not let them punish you for being a good person. 2 days later, Daeho was released from medical. He still felt weak. but the doctors said he was healing faster than expected. Human resilience, they called it. He went back to his apartment. It looked different now. The barrier around Lixra's pod was gone. The makeshift cooling systems had been removed. Everything was back to normal, except nothing was normal anymore. Lixra had made dinner. Real dinner. Not synthesized food. They had somehow gotten ingredients and cooked Velixian dishes that filled the apartment with amazing smells. "You cook?" Deho asked, surprised. "I have many skills you do not know about yet," Lixra said with a smile. "Sit. Eat. You need to regain your strength. I really... with country. To PLRZ. To PLRZ. To PLR. To PLRZ. To PLRZ. To PLRZ. To PLRZ. The food was incredible. Strange flavors that Deho had never tasted before, but wonderful. "This is amazing," he said. "It is the least I can do." They ate together, talking easily now. The awkwardness was gone. They had been through fire together and come out the other side as real friends. The next morning, Deho received a summons to appear before the station's disciplinary board. Lixra insisted on coming with him. The hearing room was cold and official. 5 board members sat behind a long desk. Station security officers stood at the sides. Deho felt small and tired. The charges were read. Violation of lockdown protocol. Unauthorized access to restricted areas. Theft of station resources. Endangering himself. And potentially others. "How do you plead?" the head board member asked. "Guilty," Deho said. "I did all those things. And I would do them again." The board members looked surprised. "You admit you would break the rules again?" one asked. "If someone needs help and I can provide it, yes, every time." "That is not how a civilized society works, Mr. Kim. Then maybe we need to think about what civilized means," Deho said. "My roommate was dying. Medical could not help because of the protocols. So I found another way. That is what humans do. We adapt. We find solutions. We help each other. Even at the risk of your own life? Especially then." One of the board members, an older woman, leaned forward. "You do realize you could have died? That your actions could have left the station liable? That you set a dangerous precedent?" Before Deho could answer, Lixra stood up. "May I speak?" The board looked surprised, but nodded. "I am Lixra of the Velixian 4th House. I want the board to understand what really happened." Lixra's voice was clear and strong. "Deho did not just save my life. He treated me with dignity and respect during the most vulnerable time in my cycle. Most species see us as either disgusting or as prey during heat. They exploit us or abandon us. But Deho saw a person in pain and helped without question." Lixra pulled out a communication pad. "I have been in contact with the Velixian embassy. They have sent an official statement." A document appeared on the board screens. The head member read it, his eyes widening. "The embassy is. They are awarding you the Kalira honor?" He looked at Deho in disbelief. "Do you know what that is?" "No," Deho admitted. "It is the highest civilian honor in Velixian culture," Lixra explained. "Given only to those who show extraordinary compassion and courage in defense of our people. In 300 years, only 12 have been awarded. You are the first human ever to receive it." The room went silent. "Furthermore," Lixra continued, "the embassy is requesting that all charges be dropped. They argue that Deho acted in accordance with the Galactic Convention on Medical Emergencies, which supersedes local protocols in life-threatening situations." The board members looked at each other, clearly unsure how to proceed. "This is unprecedented," the head member said. "So is what Deho did," Lixra said simply. More silence. Then, the older woman on the board spoke up. "I move to dismiss all charges and issue a formal commendation for Mr. Kim's actions. He demonstrated the best qualities of humanity under extreme circumstances." "Seconded," another member said. The vote was quick. 4 in favor, 1 abstaining. "Charges dismissed," the head member announced. "Mr. Kim, you are free to go." And, "Thank you." for reminding us what is really important. Outside the hearing room, Deho stood in the corridor, feeling stunned. I cannot believe that just happened, he said. Lixra smiled, their patterns glowing warm gold. Believe it. You are a hero, Deho. I am not a hero. I just did what anyone would do. No, Lixra said gently. You did what a human would do. And that makes all the difference. They walked back to their apartment together. Deho's communication pad started buzzing with messages. News agencies wanted interviews. Other Velixians across the station wanted to thank him. Even Earth news channels were picking up the story. This is going to be annoying, Deho muttered. Probably, Lixra agreed. But it is also going to change things. The station is already updating its medical protocols. They are stocking emergency supplies for all alien species now. Your actions are literally saving lives across the galaxy. Deho stopped walking. Really? Really? The Galactic Assembly is using your case as an example. They are calling it the Kim Protocol. Every multi-species habitat will now be required to have emergency supplies and trained personnel for all resident species. That is, wow. That is the power of one person choosing to help, Lixra said. You changed everything, Deho. For millions of beings across thousands of worlds, they reached their apartment. Deho looked at the door, then at Lixra. Want to watch a movie? He asked. I have a collection of old Earth films. I would love that, Lixra said. They went inside together, leaving the chaos of fame and politics outside. Just two friends, sharing space and time. And that, Deho thought, was more important than any award or protocol. That was what being human was all about. 6 months had passed since the lockdown. 6 months since Deho had risked his life for an alien roommate he barely knew. Life on Neo Sol Space Station had changed in small but important ways. The medical bay now had a special section dedicated to alien emergency care. Every species was represented, from Velixian mineral supplements to Crithian temperature stabilizers. Posters in the corridors reminded residents that help was available for all biological emergencies, no matter how rare or embarrassing. They called it the Kim Protocol. Deho still felt weird about having a medical procedure named after him. He was just an engineer. He fixed things. That was his job. But the galaxy saw it differently. He sat at his usual table in the apartment, drinking morning coffee and scrolling through his communication pad. Messages had been pouring in for months. Most of them, he ignored. Interview requests from news agencies, speaking invitations from universities, even a few marriage proposals from beings he had never met. But some messages he kept. The important ones. There was a message from a Velixian named Tae Min, on a colony world 3 sectors away. His partner had gone into heat cycle during a shuttle accident. Trapped for 2 weeks. Using the Kim Protocol guidelines, Tae Min had kept them alive with improvised equipment. They both survived. Another message from a space station near the Rigel system. A human doctor had saved a dying alien child, using emergency protocols that did not exist before Deho's case became public. The parents wanted to thank the human who had started the movement. Dozens of stories like that. Hundreds. People helping people, across species lines, because one stubborn engineer had decided that protocols mattered less than lives. You are reading the messages again, Lixra said, emerging from their sleeping pod. They stretched, their skin patterns doing their morning color shift. Blues to greens to calm purples. Just a few, Deho admitted. The good ones? Yeah. Lixra came over and looked at the screen. Ah, the Rigel station case. I read about that. The child made a full recovery. Because someone cared enough to try. Because you showed them it was possible. Lixra corrected gently. 6 months of living together as real friends had taught Deho a lot about Velixian culture. They were a careful people. Slow to trust but fiercely loyal once they did. They valued privacy and dignity above almost everything. And they never forgot a debt. Lixra had spent the last 6 months trying to repay theirs. They had taught Deho their language, had shared their culture, their food, their art, had introduced him to other Velixians on the station, creating a community Deho never knew he wanted. More importantly, they had become genuine friends. The kind of friends who could sit in comfortable silence or talk for hours about nothing important. The kind of friends who knew each other's habits and preferences without asking. Daeho knew that Lixra liked their coffee with 3 sugars and no milk. That they hummed while reading. That they sometimes had nightmares about being alone and afraid. Lixra knew that Daeho missed Earth's rain. That he watched the same old movies when he was sad. That he still had radiation scars on his arms that ached in cold weather. They knew each other in the way that only shared hardship could create. "You have a visitor coming today," Lixra said, checking their own pad. "Did you forget?" Daeho blinked. "What visitor?" "The Velixian ambassador to the Galactic Assembly. They are touring the station, and specifically requested to meet you." "Oh no." "Oh yes," Lixra said with amusement. "You have 1 hour to look presentable." Daeho groaned but went to get ready. He had learned that arguing with Lixra was pointless. They were stubborn when they wanted to be. An hour later, there was a knock on the door. Daeho opened it to find a tall Velixian in formal robes. Their skin patterns were elaborate, shifting in complex geometric designs that indicated high social status. "Kim Daeho," the ambassador said in perfect Korean. "I am Ambassador Jae-sung. It is an honor to meet you. Please come in," Daeho said, feeling awkward. "Sorry about the mess. The apartment was actually clean. Lixra had made sure of that." Ambassador Jae-sung entered and looked around with interest. Their gaze settled on the wall where Daeho's makeshift barrier had once stood. "This is where it happened," they said softly. "Where you changed the galaxy." "I just helped my friend," Daeho said. "Exactly." The ambassador turned to him with intense focus. "That is why I am here. To understand what makes humans different." "Different? Sit, please. This will take some time to explain." They all sat at the small table. The ambassador accepted tea from Lixra with a grateful nod. "I have spent 50 years in the Galactic Assembly," Jae-sung began. "I have seen countless species, studied hundreds of cultures. Each species has their defining trait. The Kryn are warriors. The Methians are philosophers. The Cortex are merchants. Every species has their identity, their role in galactic society." "And humans?" Daeho asked. "That is what puzzles us. When humans first joined the Assembly 20 years ago, we expected you to be warriors. You have the history for it. The violence. The wars. We thought you would be hired soldiers, maybe peacekeepers. But that is not what happened," Lixra added. "No," the ambassador agreed. "Humans became something else entirely. You became the ones who help. The ones who stay up all night monitoring life support for alien biology. The ones who learn new languages to comfort scared children. The ones who risk everything for beings they just met." Daeho frowned. "Other species help too. Within their own kind, yes. But humans help everyone. Indiscriminately. Without expecting reward or recognition. It is unprecedented." The ambassador pulled out a data tablet and showed Daeho a document. "This is a report from the Assembly's Social Research Division. In the last 5 years, humans have been involved in 87% of all recorded cross-species rescue operations. 92% of interspecies medical emergencies involving human responders had successful outcomes. These numbers are impossible for any other species. Maybe we are just stubborn," Daeho said. "Maybe," the ambassador said with a small smile. "Or maybe you understand something the rest of us forgot. That survival is not an individual achievement. That strength comes from bringing everyone with you. Not leaving the weak behind." Lixra spoke up. "They are calling humans the caregivers now. In the Assembly. It was meant as an insult at first, suggesting humans were weak or soft. But it has become a term of respect. I heard a debate last month," the ambassador said. "A Kryn general argued that humans could never be great warriors because they care too much about the enemy. They refuse to leave wounded behind. Even enemy wounded. They negotiate peace when they could win wars." "And what happened?" Daeho asked. A human delegate responded. She said that humans had learned through terrible history that winners of wars often lose themselves. That true strength is knowing when to extend a hand instead of a fist. The assembly chamber was silent for 10 minutes after she spoke. No one had an argument against it. The ambassador leaned forward. That is what I came to understand. You risked your life for Lixra not because you are reckless or foolish. You did it because you could not live with yourself if you did nothing. That is the human condition. The inability to ignore suffering when you can help. Daeho thought about his grandmother. About the stories she had told him of hardship and community. Of neighbors helping neighbors through terrible times. Of the understanding that we are all we have. My grandmother used to say something, he said slowly. She said that humans survived not because we were the strongest or the fastest. We survived because we took care of each other. The old, the young, the sick, other animals left the weak behind. Humans carried them. Exactly, the ambassador said. And now you are carrying the galaxy. That sounds like too much responsibility, Daeho joked. Perhaps. But you seem to be handling it well. The ambassador stood. I should go. I have meetings with Station Command. But I wanted to meet you personally, to thank you for representing the best of what humanity offers. I just did what anyone would do. That, the ambassador said gently, is the human motto. Is it not? And it is why the galaxy is learning to trust you. After the ambassador left, Daeho and Lixra sat quietly. Do you think it is true? Daeho asked. What they said about humans? I know it is true, Lixra said. You proved it to me. When I was at my worst, most vulnerable moment, you did not see an opportunity or a burden. You saw someone who needed help. That is rare, Daeho. Rarer than you know. Other species would have helped too. Would they? Lixra's patterns shifted to deep blue. I have researched it. The stories of Velixians in heat, trapped with other species, most end badly. Exploitation, abandonment, violence. You are the exception, not the rule. That is horrible. Yes. Which is why what you did matters so much. You showed the galaxy a different way. Daeho's pad buzzed. Another message. This time from Earth, from the Global Unity Council. What is it? Lixra asked. They want me to come back to Earth, to speak at the first Interspecies Relations Summit. They want me to talk about what happened. Will you go? Daeho thought about it. About all the messages from people who had used the Kim protocol to save lives. About the changes spreading through the galaxy. About the ambassador's words. Only if you come with me, he said. Lixra's patterns flashed gold. Happiness. I would be honored. Good, because I'm going to need help writing a speech. I am an engineer, not a public speaker. You will do fine, Lixra said. Just speak from the heart. Tell them what you told me. That we are all just people trying to get through the day. That kindness is kindness. No matter what you look like. My grandmother's words. Wise words. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Lixra helped Daeho outline a speech, while he helped them plan what to wear. It was domestic and comfortable and normal. That evening, as they ate dinner together, Daeho looked at his friend and realized something. You know what is funny? He said. What? 6 months ago, we were strangers who barely talked. Now I cannot imagine living without you here. Lixra's patterns went soft blue. I feel the same. You are family now, Daeho. In Velixian culture, that is the highest bond. In human culture too. They finished eating and cleaned up together. Then they settled in to watch one of Daeho's old Earth movies. A comedy from the early 2000s that made no sense to Lixra, but they watched anyway because Daeho loved it. Halfway through, Lixra spoke quietly. The ambassador was right, you know. Humans are carrying the galaxy. Not through force or conquest. Through compassion. One person at a time, Daeho said. One person at a time, Lixra agreed. Outside their small apartment, the space station hummed with life. Thousands of beings, from hundreds of worlds, all living together. And in medical bays across the galaxy, the Kim protocol sat ready, emergency supplies for every species, training for cross-species care. A reminder that when someone needs help, Someone will be there. Because that was what humans did. They stayed awake when others needed to sleep. They risked everything when others needed saving. They extended hands across impossible divides. They were the caregivers. And the galaxy was better for it. Deho smiled and turned back to his movie. Tomorrow he would think about speeches and summits, and the weight of representing humanity. Tonight, he would just be here. With his friend. With his family. Doing what humans did best. Being there for each other.